In the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, where humanity's survival hangs by a thread, heroes are forged in the crucible of endless war. Yet among the countless martyrs and zealots who willingly sacrifice themselves for the Emperor, one name stands apart: Ciaphas Cain, the self-proclaimed coward whose exploits have become legend throughout the Imperium of Man. Known officially as Commissar Ciaphas Cain, hero of the Imperium, his tale is one of remarkable contradiction. On the surface, Cain embodies the very essence of Imperial heroism, a charismatic leader, a skilled swordsman, and a tactical genius who has faced down the most terrifying foes the galaxy has to offer. His exploits span decades of service, from quelling insurrections to thwarting Xenos invasions, and even battling the forces of chaos itself. Yet beneath this veneer of valor lies a man driven not by zealous devotion or a thirst for glory, but by an overwhelming instinct for self-preservation. Cain's private thoughts, as recorded in his personal memoirs, paint a starkly different picture from the official Imperial propaganda. Here we find a man who views himself as a fraud, constantly seeking the safest course of action, only to be thrust time and again into the heart of danger by circumstance and his own carefully cultivated reputation. This duality forms the core of Cain's narrative, a man whose attempts to avoid danger invariably lead him into the most perilous situations imaginable. His story is one of survival against impossible odds, of a reluctant hero whose greatest strengths emerge precisely when he's trying his hardest to escape. Born on the hive world of Valhalla, Cain's journey began in the Schola Progenium, where he was trained to become a commissar, one of the Imperial Guard's political officers tasked with maintaining morale and discipline, often through extreme measures. It was here that Cain first honed his skills of manipulation and self-preservation, learning to navigate the complex social and political landscapes that would later serve him so well. Cain's career in the Imperial Guard spans countless worlds and conflicts, each adding to his growing legend. From the ice plains of Valhalla to the demon-infested depths of space hulks, from orc-infested jungle worlds to tyrannid hive fleets, Cain's exploits read like a tour of the Imperium's greatest threats. Yet through it all, he maintains his facade of courage, while inwardly cursing the fate that continually places him in harm's way. Central to Cain's story is his relationship with Jurgen, his malodorous but fiercely loyal aide. Jurgen, a blank, a rare individual who nullifies psychic powers, serves as both Cain's protector and his unwitting foil. Where Cain is charismatic and polished, Jurgen is socially awkward and unkempt. Yet it is often Jurgen's unique abilities and steadfast loyalty that save Cain from certain doom. The tales of Ciaphas Cain offer a unique perspective on life in the Imperium of Man. Through his eyes, we see the grim reality of endless war tempered with a sardonic wit rarely found in Imperial literature. Cain's adventures provide glimpses into the daily lives of Imperial citizens, the inner workings of the Imperial Guard, and the myriad threats that constantly assail humanity. As we delve into the life and times of Commissar Cain, we must remember that the truth often lies somewhere between the official records and Cain's self-deprecating accounts. His story is one of survival, luck, and the unexpected hero who rises to the occasion not out of duty or faith, but out of a desperate desire to live another day. In exploring Cain's saga, we will uncover the complex web of relationships, conflicts, and galaxy-shaping events that defined his career. From his humble beginnings to his rise as a celebrated hero, from his private fears to his public triumphs, the tale of Ciaphas Cain offers a rare and invaluable insight into the nature of heroism in a universe where there is only war. Prepare to embark on a journey through the eyes of the Imperium's most reluctant hero, a journey that will challenge your perceptions of courage, duty, and the very nature of heroism in the dark future of the 41st millennium. At the heart of Ciaphas Cain's saga lies a cast of diverse and complex characters, each playing a pivotal role in shaping his legendary career. These individuals, ranging from steadfast allies to formidable adversaries, form the intricate tapestry against which Cain's adventures unfold. Foremost among these is Jurgen, Cain's aide and unwitting protector. A Valhallan like Cain, Jurgen's unkempt appearance and pungent odor belie his invaluable worth. As a blank, Jurgen unconsciously nullifies psychic powers, a trait that repeatedly proves crucial in their encounters with warp-based threats. His unquestioning loyalty and practical mindset often serve as a counterpoint to Cain's more self-serving instincts, forming a partnership that transcends the typical master-servant dynamic. Amberly Vale, an inquisitor of the Ordo Xenos, stands as both Cain's editor and romantic interest. Her annotations to Cain's memoirs provide crucial context and often contradictory perspectives to his accounts. Vale's sharp intellect and dry wit make her a fitting foil for Cain, while her position within the Inquisition adds layers of intrigue to their relationship. Colonel Regina Castine, commanding officer of the 597th Valhallan Regiment, represents the military structure within which Cain operates. Her leadership style, blending traditional Valhallan toughness with pragmatic flexibility, complements Cain's unorthodox approaches. Castine's trust in Cain's abilities often places him in the spotlight he so desperately seeks to avoid. Major Rupert Brocklaw, the 597th second-in-command, initially views Cain with suspicion. His gradual shift from skepticism to respect illustrates the Commissar's ability to win over even the most doubtful allies. Brocklaw's by-the-book approach serves as a foil to Cain's more improvised tactics. Sula, an ambitious and enthusiastic junior officer, later authors her own accounts of the 597th's exploits. Her hero worship of Cain contrasts sharply with his private self-doubt, highlighting the gap between public perception and personal reality. Torrin Divas, a fellow commissar and friend from Cain's Skola days, provides a glimpse into what Cain might have been without his unique experiences. Divas's more conventional approach to his duties underscores Cain's unorthodox methods. Among Cain's most memorable adversaries is Warsmith Cryptman of the Iron Warriors Chaos Space Marines. Their repeated encounters showcase the ongoing struggle between the Imperium and the forces of Chaos, with Cryptman's cold, calculating nature contrasting sharply with Cain's improvisational style. Inquisitor Vale's retinue includes several colorful characters who occasionally intersect with Cain's adventures. Caractacus Mott, her savant, brings vast knowledge to their investigations. Sergeant Lustig, an ex-guardsman, and Corporal Magot, a former Penal Legion trooper, add military expertise and muscle to the team. The Tau Empire, with its expanding sphere of influence, features prominently in several of Cain's campaigns. Ethereals and Firecast commanders serve as both adversaries and occasional allies of convenience, their pragmatic approach to diplomacy and warfare providing a distinct contrast to Imperial methods. Necron Lords, awakening from their ancient tombs, present an implacable and incomprehensible threat. Their appearances in Cain's memoirs highlight the sheer alienness of this ancient race and the horror they inspire even in a hardened commissar. Tyrannid hive tyrants and genestealers represent the ever-present xenobiological threat to the Imperium. Cain's encounters with these creatures, from full-scale invasions to insidious cult infiltrations, showcase the diverse nature of the challenges he faces. Orc war bosses, with their crude but effective leadership, appear as recurring antagonists. Their straightforward brutality often serves as a counterpoint to Cain's more nuanced approach to combat and strategy. Lord General Zyvan, a high-ranking Imperial officer, recognizes Cain's talents and often assigns him to critical missions. His trust in Cain's abilities frequently places the Commissar in situations far more perilous than he would choose for himself. Tech priests of the Adeptus Mechanicus occasionally join Cain's missions, their quest for knowledge and technology adding another dimension to his adventures. Their logical, machine-like approach to problems often clashes with Cain's more intuitive methods. Planetary governors and local officials populate Cain's tales, representing the diverse worlds of the Imperium. Their varying degrees of competence and corruption provide both allies and obstacles in Cain's missions, illustrating the complex political landscape he must navigate. The Emperor's Inquisition, beyond Amberley Vale, plays a significant role in many of Cain's adventures. Inquisitors from various ordos bring their own agendas and methodologies, sometimes aligning with Cain's goals, other times complicating his plans. These key players, each with their own motivations, strengths, and flaws, create a rich and dynamic environment in which Cain's story unfolds. Their interactions, conflicts, and alliances drive the narrative forward, providing depth and complexity to the tale of the Imperium's most reluctant hero. Through them, we gain a multifaceted view of life in the 41st millennium, where loyalty, duty, and survival intertwine in the never-ending struggle for humanity's future. The roots of Ciaphas Cain's legendary career trace back to a confluence of galactic events and personal circumstances that shaped both his character and the Imperium he reluctantly served. This backdrop of constant warfare, political intrigue, and existential threats set the stage for Cain's unlikely rise to fame. Born on the ice world of Valhalla, Cain's early life was marked by the harsh realities of a planet in perpetual winter. Valhalla's unforgiving environment, coupled with its constant state of readiness against orc invasions, instilled in its people a grim determination and resourcefulness. These traits, while not immediately apparent in Cain's self-deprecating accounts, formed the bedrock of his survival instincts. Orphaned at a young age, Cain found himself in the care of the Schola Progenium, the Imperium's institution for raising and indoctrinating the children of deceased imperial servants. This formative period exposed him to a rigorous education in imperial doctrine, military tactics, and the art of leadership. More importantly, it honed his skills in manipulation and self-preservation as he learned to navigate the complex social hierarchies and expectations of imperial society. The Schola's emphasis on producing fanatically loyal servants of the Emperor paradoxically contributed to Cain's cynical worldview. Witnessing the sometimes brutal methods used to instill unquestioning faith, he developed a more pragmatic approach to survival and duty. This dichotomy between expected behavior and personal motivation would define much of his later career. As Cain completed his training and earned his commission as a commissar, the Imperium faced a period of escalating conflicts across multiple fronts. The ever-present orc threat continued to plague frontier worlds, while the insidious influence of chaos grew in the shadows. Emerging Xenos empires, such as the expanding Tau, challenged imperial dominance in several sectors. The Tyrannid menace, a relatively new threat to the galaxy, began to make its presence felt more keenly. Hive fleets, drawn by the psychic beacon of the Astronomicon, pushed into imperial space with increasing frequency. This galactic backdrop of escalating warfare and alien incursions created a constant demand for imperial heroes, a role Cain would reluctantly fill. Within the Imperial Guard itself, a subtle shift in tactical doctrine was underway. The traditional approach of overwhelming force and unquestioning obedience to orders began to show its limitations against more adaptable foes. This evolving military landscape provided opportunities for officers who could think on their feet and adapt to rapidly changing situations, skills Cain possessed in abundance, even if he was loath to admit it. The political climate of the Imperium during this period was characterized by increasing paranoia and zealotry. The Inquisition's influence grew, as did its internal factions and rivalries. This atmosphere of suspicion and competing agendas created a complex web of alliances and enmities that Cain would need to navigate throughout his career. Technological advancements, while slow by the standards of humanity's golden age, continued to shape the face of warfare. The Adeptus Mechanicus's ongoing quest to recover and repurpose ancient technologies occasionally intersected with military campaigns, adding another layer of complexity to already dangerous missions. Cain's early assignments as a newly minted commissar coincided with a series of orc wag that threatened several imperial sectors. These campaigns provided him with his first tastes of large-scale combat and the horrors of war. More significantly, They offered Cain the opportunity to begin crafting his public persona as a brave and inspiring leader, a facade that would both protect him and repeatedly place him in danger. The growing influence of chaos cults across the Imperium during this period set the stage for many of Cain's future encounters with the ruinous powers. The insidious nature of these cults, often hidden within the very fabric of imperial society, cultivated an environment of constant vigilance and suspicion, elements that played to Cain's strengths of perception and cunning. Cain's assignment to the Valhallan 12th Field Artillery, his first major posting, occurred against this backdrop of multifaceted threats and internal tensions. This placement would prove pivotal, as it was here that he first met Jurgen, his future aide and unwitting protector. The unique dynamics of the Valhallan regiments, with their stoic determination and occasional inter-unit rivalries, provided fertile ground for Cain to develop his leadership style and survival strategies. The Imperial Navy's struggles to maintain control of vital warp routes during this period indirectly influenced many of Cain's deployments. As sectors became isolated or reinforcements delayed, individual regiments like Cain's often found themselves facing threats far beyond their expected capabilities. These circumstances frequently thrust Cain into situations where his quick thinking and luck were put to the ultimate test. Broader galactic events, such as the rise of Gazshkul Thraka and the growing threat of High Fleet Behemoth, while not directly involving Cain in their early stages, shaped the strategic decisions that would eventually place him in key conflict zones. The Imperium's need to respond to these grand threats often led to the redeployment of forces, creating the chaotic and unpredictable career path that characterized Cain's service. The ongoing recovery and study of ancient human colonies, some dating back to the Dark Age of technology, occasionally intersected with military campaigns. These discoveries not only provided context for humanity's lost greatness, but also introduced new dangers as forgotten technologies and long-dormant threats were awakened. As Cain's reputation began to grow, fueled by both his genuine accomplishments and his carefully cultivated image, the stage was set for his involvement in ever more crucial and perilous missions. The Imperium's desperate need for heroes, combined with Cain's uncanny ability to find himself at the center of pivotal events, ensured that his desire for a safe and comfortable posting would remain perpetually unfulfilled. This confluence of personal history, galactic events, and the peculiarities of imperial bureaucracy created the perfect conditions for the emergence of Ciaphas Cain, the reluctant hero. His journey from a self-serving young commissar to a legendary figure venerated across the Imperium was set in motion, driven by forces beyond his control and shaped by his unique blend of self-preservation instincts and accidental heroism. Ciaphas Cain's journey from a fledgling commissar to a celebrated hero of the Imperium unfolded across decades of service, marked by a series of extraordinary events and narrow escapes. This chronology traces the key milestones that shaped his legendary career. Cain's first significant posting with the Valhallan 12th Field Artillery set the tone for his future exploits. Initially seeking a quiet backwater assignment, he instead found himself embroiled in a full-scale orc invasion. His actions during this campaign, born more of self-preservation than heroism, established his reputation as a fearless leader. The fusion of the 296th and 301st Valhallan regiments into the 597th marked a turning point in Cain's career. Tasked with uniting two disparate groups, he inadvertently showcased his diplomatic skills and tactical acumen. This newly formed regiment would become the backdrop for many of his most famous adventures. An early encounter with a Tyranid splinter fleet thrust Cain into one of the galaxy's most terrifying threats. His experience on Nusquam Fundamentibus, where he faced Genestealers in the cramped confines of a space hulk, added Xenos expertise to his growing list of apparent talents. The Peri-Ramunda campaign saw Cain navigating both military and political minefields. His role in uncovering and thwarting a Genestealer cult's infiltration of the planet's nobility demonstrated his investigative skills and furthered his reputation as a multifaceted asset to the Imperium. On Simia Orichalcae, Cain's path intersected with the Tau Empire for the first time. This encounter broadened his experience with Xenos diplomacy and warfare as he balanced military objectives with the complex political realities of Imperial Tau relations. The events on Adumbria marked a significant escalation in Cain's involvement with Chaos forces. His confrontation with the ruinous powers, particularly the followers of Slaanesh, added a new dimension to his combat experience and further cemented his status as a defender against humanity's gravest threats. Cain's role in the defense of Perlia against an orc wag became one of his most celebrated achievements. His leadership during the grueling campaign, culminating in a daring assault on the orc war boss, exemplified the kind of heroic narratives that would define his public persona. The Valhalla campaign brought Cain full circle, defending his home world against a resurgent Tyrannid threat. This personal connection to the conflict added emotional depth to his usual pragmatic approach, resulting in one of his most genuine displays of heroism. On Corollas, Cain faced one of his most daunting challenges yet, a Necron awakening. His encounters with these ancient Xenos tested the limits of his combat skills and quick thinking, as he grappled with an enemy that defied conventional military tactics. The siege of Perlia, occurring later in Cain's career, saw him return to a world he had previously saved. This campaign showcased his strategic mind as he coordinated the defense against a massive chaos invasion, leveraging his past experiences and reputation to rally Imperial forces. Cain's involvement in the Mechanicus expedition to Interitus Prime highlighted the intersection of his military duties with the Adeptus Mechanicus's quest for ancient technology. This mission expanded his role beyond traditional combat, delving into the realm of archaeological danger and technological mysteries. The Reclaimer Space Marine chapter's joint operation with Cain's regiment offered a glimpse into the Commissar's interactions with the Imperium's elite warriors. His ability to work effectively alongside these superhuman soldiers added another layer to his ever-growing legend. Cain's final recorded campaign on Nusquam Fundamentibus brought his career full circle. Facing a full-scale Tyrannid invasion, he drew upon decades of experience to coordinate a defense that would become the stuff of Imperial legend. Throughout these campaigns, Cain's relationship with Inquisitor Amberly Vale added a personal dimension to his professional exploits. Their encounters, often under the guise of military liaison, provided Cain with insights into the wider machinations of Imperial politics and Xenos threats. Interspersed between these major engagements were countless smaller missions and peacetime assignments. These periods, while less celebrated, were crucial in developing Cain's network of contacts and honing the social skills that proved as valuable as his combat prowess. Cain's periodic returns to teaching roles at the Shola Progenium offered moments of relative calm. These interludes allowed him to reflect on his experiences and inadvertently inspire a new generation of Imperial servants with his pragmatic wisdom. The posthumous publication of Cain's memoirs, expertly edited and annotated by Inquisitor Vale, transformed his personal legend into an enduring part of Imperial lore. These accounts, blending self-deprecating honesty with heroic deeds, offered a unique perspective on life in the Imperium's service. This chronology, spanning decades of war and peacetime alike, illustrates the breadth and depth of Ciaphas Cain's impact on the Imperium. From desperate last stands against Xenos invaders to delicate diplomatic missions, from uncovering insidious chaos plots to rallying demoralized troops, Cain's career touched on every aspect of the Imperium's endless struggle for survival. His journey from a self-serving young commissar to a genuine, if reluctant, hero of the Imperium stands as a testament to the complex nature of heroism in a galaxy racked by constant warfare. In the annals of Ciaphas Cain's storied career, one pivotal moment stands out, reshaping not only his personal trajectory, but also the course of several Imperial campaigns. This watershed event occurred during the Perlia incident, a complex military operation that would test Cain's survival instincts and leadership abilities to their utmost. The Perlia system, a relatively unremarkable Imperial holdfast, found itself besieged by an orc of unprecedented scale. Imperial forces, caught off guard by the swiftness and ferocity of the greenskin assault, teetered on the brink of annihilation. It was against this backdrop of impending defeat that Cain's actions would elevate him from a merely competent commissar to a true hero of the Imperium. As the situation deteriorated, Cain found himself separated from his regiment during a chaotic retreat. Stranded behind enemy lines with only his aide Jurgen for company, Cain's initial instinct was to find the safest route back to Imperial territory. However, fate had other plans. During their perilous journey across orc-infested terrain, Cain and Jurgen stumbled upon a group of civilian survivors led by a local PDF officer named Tabor. This encounter presented Cain with a moral dilemma: to continue his solitary quest for safety or to assume responsibility for these civilians. In a decision that surprised even himself, Cain chose to lead the group, setting in motion a chain of events that would alter the course of the entire campaign. As they navigated through enemy territory, Cain's group grew, incorporating more survivors and even a detachment of Mechanicus adepts. This motley crew, under Cain's reluctant leadership, evolved into a guerrilla force, striking at orc supply lines and gathering crucial intelligence on enemy movements. The turning point came when Cain's band discovered the location of the orc war boss's headquarters. Recognizing the strategic value of this information, Cain faced another critical decision. The safe choice would have been to transmit the data to Imperial Command and continue evading capture. Instead, in a moment of either extraordinary courage or calculated risk-taking, Cain proposed a daring raid on the orc leadership. This audacious plan involved infiltrating the heart of the orc encampment, a sprawling scrapyard of looted Imperial vehicles and crude orc construction. Cain, drawing on his understanding of orc psychology and his own knack for improvisation, devised a strategy that played to his small force's strengths while exploiting the greenskins' weaknesses. The raid itself was a masterclass in controlled chaos. Cain's team, using salvaged Imperial equipment and orc vehicles, managed to penetrate deep into enemy territory. The Commissar's quick thinking and Jurgen's steadfast support proved crucial as they navigated through layers of orc defenses. In the climactic confrontation with the orc war boss, Cain found himself face to face with a creature of nightmarish proportions and strength. The duel that ensued has since become legendary in Imperial records. Cain, armed with his trademark chainsword and las pistol, engaged the war boss in single combat. The fight was brutal and swift, with Cain emerging victorious thanks to a combination of skill, luck, and Jurgen's timely intervention with a melt-a-gun. The death of the war boss threw the orc forces into disarray. Cain, seizing the moment, rallied his disparate group and any nearby orc slaves they had freed. In a bold move, he commandeered the war boss's crude vehicle and led a charge out of the encampment, broadcasting their victory to any Imperial forces in range. This act of apparent heroism had far-reaching consequences. The sight of a commissar leading a victorious charge out of the heart of orc territory galvanized the beleaguered Imperial forces. Regiments that had been on the verge of routing found new resolve. The orc invasion, robbed of its leadership and momentum, began to crumble. In the aftermath of the Perlia incident, Cain's reputation soared to new heights. His actions were lauded as a perfect example of Imperial heroism, a narrative that Cain himself found both useful and deeply ironic, given his initial motivations. The event marked a turning point in how both his superiors and subordinates viewed him, opening doors to higher levels of command and more critical missions. Moreover, the Perlia incident reshaped Cain's own self-perception. While he continued to view himself as fundamentally self-serving, the experience forced him to confront the reality that he was capable of genuine heroism, even if it arose from pragmatic considerations. This pivotal moment also had lasting strategic implications. The tactics Cain employed during the guerrilla campaign and the final assault became a case study in Imperial military academies. His unconventional approach to combating orcs influenced Imperial Guard doctrine, particularly in scenarios where conventional forces faced overwhelming odds. The relationships forged during this crucible, especially with the Mechanicus adepts, would prove valuable in future campaigns. Cain's demonstrated ability to work effectively with various Imperial factions marked him as a versatile asset, leading to his involvement in increasingly complex and sensitive missions. Perhaps most significantly, the Perlia incident cemented Jurgen's role as more than just an aide. The event highlighted the unique synergy between Cain's quick thinking and Jurgen's steadfast, often underestimated abilities. This partnership, tested in the fires of an impossible situation, would go on to shape the outcome of numerous future engagements. In the grand tapestry of Ciaphas Cain's career, the Perlia incident stands out as the moment when legend and reality converged. It transformed a commissar who merely played the part of a hero into someone who, despite his own misgivings, had genuinely earned the title. This pivotal event set the stage for the rest of Cain's illustrious, if reluctant, service to the Imperium, forever altering the trajectory of his life and the lives of countless others across the galaxy. The ripple effects of Ciaphas Cain's exploits extended far beyond his immediate sphere of influence, reshaping Imperial military doctrine, morale, and even the balance of power in contested sectors. His unconventional methods and seemingly impossible successes left an indelible mark on the Imperium's approach to warfare and diplomacy. In the aftermath of Cain's most celebrated campaigns, Imperial Guard strategists began to reevaluate traditional tactics. The Commissar's knack for turning apparent defeats into victories through unorthodox means inspired a new school of thought within military academies. Training regimens started incorporating exercises designed to foster adaptability and quick thinking in the face of overwhelming odds, traits that had become synonymous with Cain's leadership style. The psychological impact of Cain's legend on Imperial troops cannot be overstated. In sectors where he had served, Guardsmen fought with renewed vigor, bolstered by the belief that victory was possible even in the bleakest circumstances. This Cain effect became a subject of study for Imperial scholars who sought to understand and replicate the morale boost associated with his presence. Cain's interactions with various Xenos species, particularly the Tau and Necrons, led to a more nuanced understanding of these threats within certain Imperial circles. His first-hand accounts provided valuable insights into xenopsychology and tactics, informing future engagement strategies. While the Imperium's xenophobic stance remained unchanged at large, specialized units began adopting more sophisticated approaches to alien encounters, drawing from Cain's experiences. The Commissar's frequent collaborations with the Inquisition, especially his long-standing association with Amberley Vale, fostered improved cooperation between the Ordo Xenos and Imperial military forces. This partnership set a precedent for more integrated operations, breaking down some of the traditional barriers between Imperial institutions. In the political arena, Cain's rise to prominence influenced the balance of power within several sectors. Planetary governors and military leaders sought to align themselves with his reputation, leading to shifts in local power dynamics. His endorsement, whether intentional or not, could make or break careers, adding an unexpected political dimension to his legacy. The publication of Cain's memoirs, albeit heavily redacted and posthumously released, had a profound impact on Imperial literature and historiography. These accounts offered a rare, unvarnished look at life in the Imperial Guard, challenging some of the more sanitized official narratives. Scholars and common citizens alike pored over these works, extracting lessons on survival, leadership, and the true nature of heroism in the grim darkness of the far future. Cain's repeated encounters with Chaos forces, particularly his knack for unraveling complex heretical plots, led to increased vigilance against insidious corruption within Imperial ranks. His experiences underscored the importance of constant watchfulness, influencing security protocols and indoctrination methods across various Imperial organizations. The Commissar's ability to forge alliances with diverse Imperial factions, from Space Marine chapters to Mechanicus enclaves, set a new standard for interorganizational cooperation. His successes demonstrated the power of unified action against common threats, encouraging a more collaborative approach in future campaigns. In sectors where Cain had operated, there was a marked increase in the efficiency of resource allocation and strategic planning. His talent for identifying critical weak points in enemy forces and exploiting them with minimal resources inspired a re-evaluation of traditional attrition-based warfare tactics. The Schola Progenium, responsible for training future generations of Imperial leaders, incorporated case studies based on Cain's campaigns into its curriculum. This ensured that his impact would be felt for generations, as young commissars and officers studied and emulated his methods. Cain's encounters with ancient technologies and lost human colonies during his various missions contributed to the Adeptus Mechanicus's ongoing quest for knowledge. His accounts led to several expeditions aimed at recovering forgotten archaeotech, some of which yielded significant advancements in Imperial technology. The Commissar's success in turning potential enemies into allies, particularly in his dealings with Imperial citizens teetering on the brink of heresy or rebellion, influenced the Imperium's approach to internal dissent. In some regions, a more nuanced strategy of reintegration and redemption began to emerge, inspired by Cain's methods of winning hearts and minds. His repeated triumphs over tyrannid forces provided valuable data on combating this ever-evolving threat. Cain's tactics, especially those employed during hive fleet incursions, were studied and adapted by Imperial strategists tasked with defending against future Tyrannid invasions. The Cain Doctrine emerged as an unofficial but widely recognized approach to asymmetric warfare within the Imperial Guard. This doctrine emphasized flexibility, resource efficiency, and the exploitation of enemy psychology, all hallmarks of Cain's most successful engagements. In the realm of Imperial propaganda, Cain's exploits became a cornerstone of morale-boosting efforts. His image was used to inspire loyalty and courage across the Imperium, with carefully curated tales of his deeds spreading to even the most distant colonies. The long-term psychological effects of serving alongside Cain became a subject of interest for Imperial medical personnel. Veterans of his campaigns displayed increased resilience and adaptability, leading to studies on replicating these traits in other Imperial Guard units. Cain's influence extended to the highest echelons of Imperial command. His unorthodox successes challenged entrenched strategic thinking, encouraging a more flexible and adaptive approach to galaxy-wide threat assessment and response. In sectors where he had foiled Genestealer cult infiltrations, heightened awareness and more sophisticated detection methods were implemented. His experiences led to the development of new protocols for identifying and neutralizing these insidious Xenos threats. The Commissar's knack for survival against overwhelming odds led to revisions in Imperial Guard equipment and survival training. Lessons drawn from his experiences informed the development of new field gear and emergency protocols, increasing the survivability of standard guardsmen in extreme conditions. Ciaphas Cain's legendary career was marked by his adept use of both conventional and unorthodox tactics, often employing technologies in innovative ways to overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. His approach to warfare, while rooted in standard Imperial Guard doctrine, frequently diverged into realms of improvisation and calculated risk-taking. One of Cain's most notable tactical innovations was his creative use of terrain and environmental factors. On ice worlds, he exploited the unstable ground to set traps for pursuing enemies, using thermal charges to crack ice sheets and swallow entire orc warbands. In urban environments, he excelled at turning the labyrinthine layouts of hive cities to his advantage, using service tunnels and forgotten passageways to outmaneuver foes. Cain's proficiency with his chainsword and laspistol became legendary, but it was his application of these standard-issue weapons that set him apart. He often used his laspistol for precision shots, to trigger environmental hazards or to create distractions rather than just for direct combat. His chainsword techniques incorporated elements of fencing and close-quarters combat, allowing him to hold his own against physically superior opponents. In terms of larger-scale tactics, Cain frequently employed the Cain Gambit, a high-risk strategy involving using himself as bait to draw out enemy leaders or to expose the weaknesses in their battle plans. This tactic, while perilous, often resulted in decisive victories by decapitating enemy command structures or revealing critical vulnerabilities. Cain's approach to vehicle warfare was equally innovative. He was known to repurpose civilian vehicles for military use, once famously using a Grupo lift from a manufacturing plant to transport troops rapidly across a battlefield. His understanding of orc psychology led to successful tactics involving looting the looters, using captured orc vehicles to infiltrate and disrupt their forces. In the realm of technology, Cain showed a knack for adapting and combining various Imperial tools and weapons. He once used a combination of a standard Voxcaster and a Mechanicus sonic disruptor to create a makeshift area denial weapon against a Tyrannid swarm, exploiting the Xenos' sensitive auditory organs. Cain's experiences with various Xenos races led to the development of specialized counter-tactics. Against Necrons, he pioneered the use of electromagnetic pulse weapons combined with more conventional firepower, exploiting the brief window of vulnerability as the Xenos reanimation protocols initiated. For Tyrannid encounters, he developed a system of pheromone-based misdirection, using synthesized hormones to confuse and redirect smaller bioforms. The Commissar's understanding of psyker abilities, both as a potential asset and a threat, informed many of his strategies. He often worked closely with sanctioned psychers, using their abilities for battlefield precognition and to counter enemy warp-based attacks. His partnership with Jurgen, a blank, was leveraged to create null zones on the battlefield, disrupting enemy psychers and warp entities. In siege warfare, Cain excelled at both defense and offense. His defensive strategies often involved creating layered fallback positions with interlocking fields of fire, while his offensive approaches focused on identifying and exploiting weak points in enemy fortifications. He was particularly adept at psychological warfare during sieges, using targeted strikes and disinformation to demoralize defenders or goad attackers into premature assaults. Cain's approach to void combat, while limited by his role as a ground forces officer, nonetheless showed innovation. He developed tactics for securing and defending boarding points on starships, and his understanding of ship systems allowed him to coordinate ground forces effectively with naval support. The Commissar's talent for improvised explosives became a hallmark of his adaptive style. He could fashion effective demolition charges from a variety of materials, once using a combination of promethium fuel and compressed gas canisters to collapse a strategically important bridge, halting an orc advance. In the realm of stealth and infiltration, Cain developed techniques that blended Imperial Guard training with skills more commonly associated with the Officio Assassinorum. His methods for silent elimination and disguise were particularly effective in urban warfare scenarios and behind enemy lines operations. Cain's understanding of chaos forces led to the development of anti-demonic combat techniques that could be employed by regular troops. He emphasized the psychological aspects of resisting chaos influence, training soldiers to recognize and counter the subtle manipulations of the ruinous powers. The Commissar's approach to leadership and morale management was perhaps his most significant contribution to Imperial military science. He developed a style that balanced the traditional stern discipline of a commissar with a more personable approach, fostering loyalty and initiative among his troops. This Cain method of leadership became a subject of study in its own right. Cain's tactics often involved leveraging the unique skills of specialist troops and support personnel. He was adept at integrating the talents of Mechanicus tech priests, Ministorum preachers, and even civilian experts into his battle plans, creating versatile and unpredictable force compositions. In terms of battlefield communication, Cain pioneered the use of simplified, context-dependent code systems that allowed for rapid and secure transmission of orders even in the heat of battle. These codes were designed to be easily memorable, yet difficult for enemies to decipher quickly. The Commissar's experiences with time-sensitive missions led to the development of rapid deployment strategies that became standard in several Imperial Guard regiments. These tactics emphasized speed and precision over overwhelming force, allowing small teams to achieve objectives that would typically require much larger forces. Cain's approach to post-battle recovery and consolidation was notably efficient. He developed protocols for rapid fortification of gained ground, effective triage and casualty management, and swift rearmament and resupply, allowing his forces to maintain momentum after initial victories. Throughout his career, Cain demonstrated an exceptional ability to adapt Imperial technology and tactics to unforeseen challenges, setting new standards for flexibility and innovation in the traditionally rigid structure of the Imperial Guard. His methods, while often unorthodox, proved consistently effective against a wide array of threats, cementing his legacy as not just a hero, but a true innovator in Imperial military doctrine. Throughout his illustrious career, Ciaphas Cain encountered a diverse cast of characters who played pivotal roles in shaping his legend. These individuals, ranging from steadfast allies to formidable adversaries, each contributed uniquely to the tapestry of Cain's adventures. Jurgen, Cain's malodorous aide, stands out as the unsung hero of countless missions. His unwavering loyalty and unique status as a blank proved invaluable in numerous encounters with warp-based threats. Jurgen's matter-of-fact approach to danger and his knack for producing exactly the right item at crucial moments often tipped the scales in Cain's favor. Amberly Vale, the Inquisitor who would later compile and edit Cain's memoirs, emerged as both a romantic interest and a key ally. Her sharp intellect and resources as an Ordo Xenos Inquisitor complemented Cain's practical experience, forming a formidable partnership against alien threats. Lord General Zyvin represented the higher echelons of Imperial command that recognized Cain's value. His trust in Cain's abilities often led to the Commissar's involvement in critical missions, inadvertently contributing to the growth of his heroic reputation. Among Cain's regimental colleagues, Colonel Regina Castine and Major Rupert Brocklaw of the 597th Valhallan stood out. Their leadership styles, contrasting yet complementary to Cain's, created a dynamic command structure that proved effective in numerous campaigns. Sula, an ambitious young officer, later became a chronicler of the 597th's exploits. Her hero worship of Cain provided an interesting counterpoint to his own self-deprecating accounts, highlighting the gap between public perception and personal reality. On the side of adversaries, Cain faced a rogues gallery of memorable foes. Warsmith Cryptman of the Iron Warriors Chaos Space Marines served as a recurring nemesis, his cold, calculating nature contrasting sharply with Cain's improvisational style. The Tau Ethereal Anva, while not a direct antagonist, represented the complex diplomatic challenges Cain navigated. Their encounters showcased Cain's ability to maneuver through political minefields as adeptly as battlefields. Among Xenos threats, the Tyrannid Hive Tyrant on Pereiramunda stood out as a particularly daunting foe. This encounter not only tested Cain's combat skills, but also his strategic acumen in facing an enemy driven by pure biological imperative. Orc war boss Gargash, whom Cain faced during the Perlia campaign, epitomized the brutal yet cunning nature of Orc leadership. Their climactic duel became one of the most celebrated chapters in Cain's legend. Inquisitor Vale's retinue included colorful characters who occasionally intersected with Cain's missions. Caractacus Mott, her savant, provided crucial intelligence support, while Sergeant Lustig and Corporal Mago added muscle to joint operations. Torin Divas, a fellow commissar and friend from Cain's Scola days, offered glimpses into an alternate path, showcasing what Cain might have been without his unique experiences and adaptability. Tech Priest Logash, encountered during the Adeptus Mechanicus expedition to Simia Orichalkai, represented the Mechanicus' quest for knowledge. Their collaboration highlighted Cain's ability to work effectively with various Imperial factions. Commissar Forres, with her by-the-book approach, served as a foil to Cain's more flexible methods. Their interactions underscored the varying interpretations of a commissar's duty within the Imperial Guard. The Psyker Malden, whom Cain worked with on several occasions, demonstrated the commissar's pragmatic approach to using psychic abilities in combat, despite his personal wariness of Psykers. Governor Grice of Peria showcased the political challenges Cain often navigated. Their interactions highlighted the commissar's diplomatic skills in managing civilian leadership during military crises. Among the Space Marines Cain encountered Captain Vanem Blenner of the Reclaimers. Chapters stood out. Their joint operation provided insight into how Cain's unconventional tactics meshed with the Astartes' superhuman abilities. The Necron Lord on Adumbria presented an implacable and alien threat, testing Cain's adaptability against an enemy far removed from human understanding. Sister Julienne of the Adepta Sororitas, encountered during the Pera Ramunda campaign, represented the zealous faith of the ecclesiarchy. Her interactions with Cain illustrated the complex relationship between faith and pragmatism in the Imperium. Mira, a local militia leader on Perlia, became a symbol of the civilian courage Cain often encountered and relied upon. Her resourcefulness complemented Cain's strategic thinking during guerrilla operations. The Genestealer Patriarch on Kephia epitomized the insidious nature of Tyrannid infiltration. This encounter showcased Cain's investigative skills and his ability to uncover hidden threats. Lord Werner Trevallion, a noble from Adumbria, represented the political intrigues Cain often had to navigate alongside military threats. Their interactions highlighted the commissar's savvy in dealing with imperial nobility. Compilator Primus Marinus was a senior tech priest who worked with Cain during the Adeptus Mechanicus expedition. Their collaboration demonstrated Cain's ability to bridge the gap between the Mechanicus's esoteric pursuits and practical military needs. These individuals, each with their unique roles and relationships to Cain, collectively shaped the narrative of his career. From loyal companions to deadly adversaries, they provided the context and contrast that transformed Ciaphas Cain from a mere commissar into a legendary hero of the Imperium. Despite Ciaphas Cain's extensive memoirs and the meticulous annotations provided by Inquisitor Amberly Vale, numerous mysteries and unanswered questions surround his legendary career. These enigmas continue to fuel debate among Imperial scholars and conspiracy theorists alike. One persistent mystery revolves around Cain's true motivations. While his private writings portray him as driven primarily by self-preservation, his actions often resulted in heroic deeds that saved countless lives. This dichotomy raises questions about the extent to which Cain's self-deprecating accounts can be taken at face value. The nature of Cain's relationship with Jurgen, his aide, remains a subject of speculation. While officially a simple superior-subordinate dynamic, their unusually effective partnership and Jurgen's unwavering loyalty hint at a deeper connection. Some theorists posit that Jurgen's status as a blank might have played a more significant role in their successes than officially acknowledged. Cain's frequent involvement in events of galactic importance has led some to question whether unseen forces were guiding his career. Conspiracy theories range from suggestions of inquisitorial manipulation to claims of divine intervention by the Emperor himself. The full extent of Cain's interactions with the Inquisition, beyond his relationship with Amberly Vale, remains classified. Gaps in his record and oblique references in other Imperial documents hint at covert operations that never made it into his official memoirs. Questions linger about Cain's encounters with Necron technology and the extent of his knowledge regarding these ancient Xenos. Some passages in his writings suggest insights beyond what the Imperium officially acknowledges about Necron capabilities. The true impact of Cain's actions on larger Imperial strategy is difficult to gauge. While his tactical successes are well documented, the strategic consequences of his campaigns, especially regarding Xenos relations and Chaos incursions, remain topics of scholarly debate. Cain's survival of numerous near-death experiences has led to theories about possible warp influence or unknown genetic factors. His seemingly preternatural luck has been scrutinized for signs of unnatural intervention. The fate of several characters mentioned in Cain's early memoirs, but absent from later accounts, has sparked curiosity. Their disappearances range from mundane reassignments to more sinister speculations involving inquisitorial purges or chaos corruption. Cain's expertise in combating a wide array of threats, from orcs to tyrannids to chaos forces, raises questions about the source of his knowledge. Some suggest he may have had access to restricted inquisitorial data or Xenos artifacts. The full extent of Cain's influence on Imperial military doctrine remains unclear. While his tactics were widely studied, the degree to which they were officially incorporated into Imperial Guard strategies is a matter of ongoing historical research. Cain's encounters with the Tau Empire and his understanding of their culture seem unusually nuanced for an Imperial officer. This has led to speculation about undocumented diplomatic missions or covert operations involving Tau space. The psychological impact of Cain's constant exposure to danger and brushes with chaos on his mental state is a subject of interest to Imperial psychologists. His ability to maintain composure and effectiveness in the face of cosmic horrors contradicts typical human responses. Questions persist about the potential long-term effects of Cain's proximity to Jurgen's blank aura. Some theories suggest this constant exposure might have altered Cain's own psychic profile or resistance to warp influences. The true extent of Cain's combat abilities remains a topic of debate. While his modesty often downplayed his skills, eyewitness accounts describe feats of martial prowess that seem almost superhuman. Cain's interactions with various Space Marine chapters hint at a deeper involvement with the Adeptus Astartes than is typical for a commissar. The nature and extent of these relationships remain largely unexplored in official records. The accuracy of Cain's recollections, particularly in his later years, has been questioned. The potential influence of trauma, time, or external factors on his memoirs adds a layer of uncertainty to his already complex narrative. Cain's understanding of chaos and his resistance to its corruption raise questions about his spiritual nature. Some religious scholars have debated whether he possessed an innate protection against chaos influence. The full scope of Cain's influence on Imperial politics, particularly through his connections with planetary governors and sector lords, remains unclear. His indirect impact on governance and policy-making could be more significant than officially recognized. Mysteries surround Cain's early life and the experiences that shaped his worldview. The limited information about his time in the Schola Progenium and his first assignments leaves room for speculation about formative events not recorded in his memoirs. The legacy of Ciaphas Cain extends far beyond his immediate actions and achievements, resonating through the annals of Imperial history and shaping the Imperium's approach to warfare, diplomacy, and heroism for generations to come. In the centuries following Cain's active service, his influence on Imperial Guard doctrine remained profound. Training academies across the galaxy incorporated case studies of his campaigns, emphasizing adaptability, resourcefulness, and the importance of understanding diverse enemy tactics. The Cain doctrine became synonymous with unconventional problem-solving in military circles, inspiring a new breed of officers who valued quick thinking over blind adherence to traditional strategies. Cain's interactions with various Xeno species, particularly the Tau and Necrons, led to a subtle shift in how some segments of the Imperium approached alien encounters. While the overall xenophobic stance remained unchanged, specialized units began adopting more nuanced tactics, drawing from Cain's experiences to improve their effectiveness against non-human adversaries. The Commissar's unorthodox leadership style sparked debates within the Officio Prefectus about the role of political officers in the Imperial Guard. Progressive factions advocated for a more Cain-like approach, emphasizing inspiration over intimidation, while traditionalists warned against softening the commissariat's image. In the realm of Imperial literature, Cain's memoirs, despite heavy censorship, became bestsellers. These accounts offered citizens a rare glimpse into the life of a frontline Imperial hero, humanizing the endless war effort and boosting morale across countless worlds. Unauthorized dramatizations of Cain's exploits became popular in underground entertainment circuits, much to the chagrin of Imperial censors. Cain's frequent collaborations with the Inquisition, particularly his long-standing association with Amberley Vale, set a precedent for increased cooperation between the Ordo Xenos and Imperial military forces. This partnership model was cautiously adopted in other sectors, leading to more integrated approaches in combating alien threats. The psychological impact of Cain's legend on Imperial citizens cannot be overstated. In times of crisis, tales of his impossible victories against overwhelming odds served as a beacon of hope. The phrase, "What would Cain do?" became a common refrain among Imperial Guard officers facing seemingly insurmountable challenges. Cain's encounters with Chaos forces and his knack for unraveling complex heretical plots led to increased vigilance against insidious corruption within Imperial ranks. His experiences underscored the importance of constant watchfulness, influencing security protocols and indoctrination methods across various Imperial organizations. In academic circles, the study of Cain's career became a discipline unto itself. Cainology emerged as a field combining military history, psychology, and political science, attempting to unravel the complex web of events and decisions that defined his impact on the Imperium. The Commissar's ability to forge alliances with diverse Imperial factions, from Space Marine chapters to Mechanicus enclaves, became a model for interorganizational cooperation. His successes demonstrated the power of unified action against common threats, encouraging a more collaborative approach in future campaigns. Cain's encounters with ancient technologies and lost human colonies during his missions contributed significantly to the Adeptus Mechanicus's ongoing quest for knowledge. Expeditions inspired by his accounts led to the recovery of several pieces of archaeotech, advancing Imperial technology in subtle but important ways. The Cain effect on troop morale became a subject of intense study by Imperial psychologists. Efforts to replicate the boost in fighting spirit associated with his presence led to new approaches in motivational training and propaganda dissemination within the Imperial Guard. In the political sphere, Cain's rise to prominence influenced the balance of power in several sectors. Planetary governors and military leaders sought to align themselves with his methods and reputation, leading to shifts in local governance styles and military strategies. Cain's success in turning potential enemies into allies, particularly in his dealings with populations on the brink of heresy or rebellion, influenced the Imperium's approach to internal dissent. In some regions, a more nuanced strategy of reintegration and redemption began to emerge, inspired by his methods of winning hearts and minds. The long-term impact of Cain's actions on galactic events became a topic of scholarly debate. Some historians argued that his interventions at crucial junctures had altered the course of several major conflicts, potentially changing the face of the Imperium itself. In the realm of Imperial faith, Cain's exploits took on an almost mythical quality. While never officially sanctioned by the ecclesiarchy, folk beliefs in some sectors elevated him to the status of a minor Imperial saint, invoking his name for protection against Xenos and Chaos threats. Cain's repeated triumphs over Tyranid forces provided valuable data on combating this ever-evolving threat. His tactics, especially those employed during Hive fleet incursions, were studied and adapted by Imperial strategists, informing defense plans for future invasions. The Commissar's knack for survival against overwhelming odds led to revisions in Imperial Guard equipment and survival training. Lessons drawn from his experiences informed the development of new field gear and emergency protocols, increasing the survivability of standard guardsmen in extreme conditions. In sectors where Cain had foiled Genestealer cult infiltrations, heightened awareness and more sophisticated detection methods were implemented. His experiences led to the development of new protocols for identifying and neutralizing these insidious Xenos threats. As centuries passed, the line between the historical Ciaphas Cain and the legendary figure blurred. Yet, his impact on the Imperium remained tangible, a testament to how one individual's actions, whether driven by heroism or self-preservation, can shape the destiny of countless worlds in the grim darkness of the far future.